I am presenting here a series of 14 chapters from my audiobook titled Ancient Sages of India. This is the 14th one in the series, which is Viswamitra. Chapter 13, Viswamitra.
Viswamitra is one of the important sages of India. The importance lies in the fact that he was a king in the beginning and later became a sage through penance. He was not a simple sage but attained the status of a Brahma Rishi through his rigorous penance. The Valmiki Ramayana mentions Vishwamitra as the son of King Gadi. It is stated that there was a king named Kusha, a mind-born son, that is Manasaputra, of Lord Brahma. Kusha's son was the powerful and verily righteous Kushanaba, one who is highly renowned by the name Gadi was the son of Kushanabha, and Gadi's son is this great saint of great resplendence, Vishwamitra. That is how the Valmiki Ramayana talks about Vishwamitra.
Raja Bhudesha Dharmatma Dirghakalamarindamah Dharmajna Kritavidyascha Prajanam Chahite Ratah Prajapati Sudaschasit Kusho Nama Mahipatihi Kushasya Putro Balavan Kushanabasudharmikah Kushanabasutastvasit Gadhirityeva Vishretah Gadhe Putro Mahateja Vishwamitro Mahamuni Vishwamitro Mahateja Palayamasa Medinim Bahuvarshe Sahasrani Raja Rajyamakarayate.
The story of his birth is like this. There was a sage named Ruchika. Satyavati was his wife. She was the daughter of King Gadi. Satyavati could not give birth to any child. So, she was unhappy. Meanwhile, at the kingdom, her father, King Gadi, had also no heir to the throne. This also worried Satyavati. One day, sage Ruchika asked Satyavati the reason for her unhappiness. She told him of her worries. The sage decided to help both Satyavati and her mother. He gave Satyavati 2 portions. One was for her mother so that she would have a mighty Kshatriya son. The other portion was for Satyavati so that she could give birth to a son who would become a great sage with Brahmanic traits. However, the 2 vessels containing the portions got mixed up and Satyavati consumed the portion bearing Kshatriya energies. Consequently, her mother consumed the portion containing the Brahmanic energies. Sage Ruchika saw this mix-up with his divine vision. He told Satyavati that she was bearing a Kshatriya fetus in her womb and not a Brahmanic one as planned. Satyavati became sad. She requested the sage to do something through his yogic powers so that she could give birth to a Brahmanic son. So, with his yogic powers, sage Ruchika transferred the change to the next generation. In other words, while their son would be with Brahmanic traits, their grandson would be one with Kshatriya traits. The son born to sage Ruchika and Satyavati was sage Jamadagni, and their grandson was Parashurama. Satyavati's mother, the wife of King Gadhi, gave birth to a son with Brahmanic traits, and he was Viswamitra. Since he comes from the family of King Kusha, Viswamitra was also known as Kaushika. Thus, Viswamitra was a Kshatriya by birth, though he was having the traits of a sage. How King Kaushika became sage Viswamitra is another beautiful anecdote. Kaushika succeeded his father to the kingdom and ruled it well. Once he was on a tour of his kingdom, listening to the complaints of his subjects. He then came upon the hermitage of the great sage Vasishtha. He was impressed by the atmosphere of tranquility and peace surrounding that place and expressed a desire to rest there with his army of soldiers. He was received by sage Vasishtha, and everyone was lavishly entertained by the sage. The king was surprised that living in such a remote place, the sage was able to give a magnificent feast for his army, and asked the sage as to how he managed this. To this, sage Vasishtha said, "O king, this feast has been provided by my calf named Nandini. She is the daughter of Indra's cow Kamadhenu and has been gifted to me by Indra to help me in my austerities." Kaushika was filled with wonder when he heard this. He began to think that possessing this cow would mean a lot to him. After all, the sage did not have to provide food and sustenance for a large army. He expressed a desire to the sage for obtaining Nandini from him and said, "Your Holiness, well, being a king, I have to serve the people. According to the Shastras, anything of high value in the kingdom belongs to the king by right, and that among the cows I hold Nandini the highest value, and she will be of great help to me in serving my subjects. So please give Nandini to me." Vasishtha politely refused. Kaushika said, "I will give you 100,000 cows in exchange of Nandini." Vasishtha again politely refused and remained steadfast in his refusal. Kaushika became extremely angry. He ordered his army to seize Nandini. To encounter them, Vasishtha created an army of fierce warriors with his yogic power. They fought the army of Kaushika and defeated them. Kaushika was imprisoned in the war and presented before Vasishtha, but sage Vasishtha forgave him and released him with words of advice. This incident made a deep impression on the king. He realized that the power obtained by penances was greater than mere physical might. He renounced his kingdom and began his quest to become a great sage than Vasishtha. The Valmiki Ramayana says,
Digbalam Kshatriya Balam Brahmateja Balam Balam Yekena Brahmadandena Sarvastrani Hatani Me Tatetat Samavekshaham Prasannendriyamanatah Tapomagat Sama Asthastye Yadvai Brahmatva Karanam.
"Fie upon the might of Kshatriyas. Mightier is the might of Brahmans or resplendence. Only with one Brahminical staff, all of my missiles have been diffused. Therefore, on analyzing this matter, I, with my heart and senses quietened, will embark on severe austerities that will enable me to attain Brahmanhood. Mentioning the name of Nandini as Sabala, the Valmiki Ramayana gives an elaborate account of this incident. Viswamitra thereafter acquired a lot of powers due to his penance. In the process of his penance, many things happen. One such incident is the creation of the Trishanku Surgam. This story goes like this. In the Surya dynasty, there was a king named Trishanku. He had a strange wish. He was so much in love with the beauty of his body that he could not bear the thought of parting with it at death. So he desired to ascend to heaven in that very same body. He approached sage Vasishta to help him achieve his desire. But the sage refused, as it was against the nature of divine law. Dissatisfied with Vasishta's response, the king approached the sage's sons and sought their help. They were irritated at being asked to do something which their father had pronounced impossible. They ridiculed his vanity and curtly bade him go. But Trishanku would not give up his aim. He told them that they and their father were too poor in merit to help him. Vasishta's sons got angry at these remarks and cursed him. The next morning, Trishanku woke up a different person altogether, ugly of form and attired in dirty clothes. His ministers and his people could not recognize him. Driven out of his kingdom, he wandered hungry and weary, almost to death, till his destiny took him to Viswamitra's ashram. Recounting all that had happened, he fell at the sage's feet and said, "I have been a good king and never swerved from the path of dharma. I have committed no sin and wronged none. Please help me." Being a competitor of sage Vasishta, Viswamitra wanted to prove superiority to him. He agreed to make the king's wishes come true. For that, they had to perform a yajna, and the king should get out of his cursed form. So Viswamitra took Trishanku to sage Markandeya and explained the whole story about the king and his wishes. With the blessings of sage Markandeya, Trishanku was relieved of the evil effects of the curse and got back his original form and qualities. Viswamitra then made arrangements for the conduct of the yajna. He wanted Lord Brahma to be present while the yajna took place. He went to meet Lord Brahma and explained all his wishes and preparations to send Trishanku to heaven with his mortal body. Lord Brahma informed the impossibility of the accomplishment of the desire and refused to lend his support. Viswamitra, however, began the yajna. Extolling Trishanku's eminent virtues, he sought the help of the other sages in the fulfillment of the objective of Trishanku. Well aware of the sage's mighty powers and temper, the invitees lent their support and the yajna went on. It reached the stage when the gods were invoked to descend and accept the offerings. But no god came. Wild with rage, Viswamitra held the ladle of ghee over the flames and said, "O Agnideva, I am now transferring all the effects of my penance unto you. I care not if the gods reject my offerings. If my austerities have any value, they should lift Trishanku to heaven in his physical frame, or right now. A miracle followed. To the astonishment of those who were assembled there, King Trishanku started rising and rising heavenward. Such was the great power of the penance of Viswamitra. Trishanku reached the heaven, but Indra forthwith pushed him down. Trishanku fell from heaven head downwards. As he was falling, he screamed and shouted, "His Holiness, save me!" Sage Viswamitra was extremely angry at the acts of Indra. Determined to teach the gods a lesson, he shouted to Trishanku, "Stop there itself! Stop there itself!" And to the amazement of all, Trishanku's earthward descent came to an abrupt stop, and he stopped in mid-air, shining like a star. With the power of his penance, Viswamitra created a new heaven where Trishanku was stationed in space. He also created new gods and a new Indra. He declared it as Trishanku Surgam, the heaven of Trishanku. Viswamitra did not stop with that. He started creating more worlds as though a challenge to Lord Brahma. After hectic consultations with Lord Brahma, the gods sought a rapprochement with Viswamitra. A deal was struck that Trishanku Surgam and other worlds created by Viswamitra would remain as they were, and Viswamitra would desist from his creative activities. The objective of Viswamitra was to become a Brahma Rishi, the sage with godly powers like that of Vasishtha. He was still a Kshatriya sage, a Raja Rishi. So he continued his penance to become a Brahma Rishi. A sage is a person who resists the temptations of life. Can Viswamitra be called a sage? The gods presided over by Indra wanted to test this. For this, Indra sent Menaka, one of the celebrated and ravishingly beautiful Apsaras, to Viswamitra when he was doing penance. She was asked to test and, if possible, disturb his penance. And Menaka succeeded in her mission. Viswamitra got disturbed and got attracted to the beauty of Menaka. A girl child was born to them as a result of their union. But neither Viswamitra nor Menaka was willing to take care of this child. So some birds known as Shakuntas took away the child and nourished her. The birds handed over the child to sage Kanva. Sage Kanva took her and brought her up like his daughter. Because she was taken care by Shakunta birds, the girl was named as Shakuntala. She married King Dushyanta and gave birth to Bharata, after whom India is named. After the birth of Shakuntala, Viswamitra realized that he had fallen into the trap of passion and lust. He went back to continue his penance. Indra again sent another beautiful Apsara named Rambha to disturb Viswamitra's penance. Viswamitra did not yield that time to the sensory attractions, but he got angry with Rambha. He cursed her to become a stone. She pleaded with the sage to excuse her, as she was only following the orders of Indra and was performing her duty. She pleaded with him to lift the curse. But Viswamitra did not relent. Sage Vasishtha, however, helped her to get back as an Apsara. Through Menaka and Ramba, the powers obtained by Viswamitra through penance were lost. Viswamitra realized the futility of his ego. With more determination, he went higher in Himalayas and started doing severe penance. He ceased to eat and drink. He even reduced breathing to a bare minimum. When he was about to break his fast, after many years of penance, by eating some rice, Indra came personally in the guise of a poor Brahmin. Indra begged for food from Viswamitra. By this time, Viswamitra was mature. He readily gave his food to the Brahmin and resumed his meditation. Thus, finally, Viswamitra was able to master his passions without being provoked by any of Indra's testing and seductive hindrances. He thus completed his journey of penance by attainment of great yogic power. Then Lord Brahma accepted him as a Brahmarshi and also named him Viswamitra, meaning friend of all. Vasishtha also embraced Viswamitra and agreed that Viswamitra was indeed a Brahmarshi.
The links for the book as well as the audiobook are given in the description part of this presentation.